Welcome to Math TV with Professor V. Here's your integral for the day. We have definite integral from 0 to 1/2 of 3 times sine to the 4th of 2 pi x dx. All right, so notice we have sine of some quantity raised to an even power. So in that case, we're going to have to apply our half angle identity for sine squared theta. Yeah, you just got to know what the cases are and bust them out when appropriate. So recall, anytime you have sine squared theta in your integral, you're going to replace it with 1/2 times 1 minus cosine 2 theta. Okay, so I know we've got sine to the 4th of something, in this case 2 pi x. We're just going to have to apply this identity a couple times. So to get the ball rolling, I always tell my students, take that constant out so it's not bothering you. So 3 integral 0 to 1/2. Instead of sine to the 4th, I'm going to write it as sine squared 2 pi x quantity squared dx. All right, so first level, we're going to replace sine squared 2 pi x with the appropriate identity here. Notice you just double the argument. So if you had theta to start with, it becomes 2 theta. We have 2 pi x to start with. Doubling that will become 4 pi x. All right, so let's see how this is going to go. We've got 3 times the integral 0 to 1/2. I'm replacing everything inside the parentheses now with 1/2 times 1 minus cosine of 4 pi x, and then all of this gets squared dx. Oh yes. So I have to distribute this exponent to the 1/2. That would make it a 1/4. Put that outside with the 3. They can hang out. 3/4. Integral 0 to 1/2. And then now I have 1 minus cosine 4 pi x squared dx. Let's expand, multiply everything out. So this is 3/4 times definite integral 0 to 1/2. That's an ugly little 1/2. Hold on. Straighten up 1/2. Okay, multiplying everything out, this is going to be 1 minus 2 cosine 4 pi x plus cosine squared 4 pi x dx. Okay, let's check. Are we ready to anti-differentiate? I can take care of the 1. I can take care of this 2 cosine 4 pi x. Not this cosine squared. So again, we're going to have to apply another half angle identity. It's a wee bit different for cosine. Recall, cosine squared theta, you're going to replace it with 1/2 times 1 plus cosine 2 theta. So that means I'm going to replace this term here with 1/2 times 1 plus cosine double 4 pi, so that's going to make it 8 pi x. Okay, everything else we're just going to rewrite. And I'm not going to integrate just yet because I want to consolidate as much as possible, okay? I don't normally write backwards from right to left. It felt very peculiar right now. I don't know why I did that. Okay, so one thing I do notice here is that we have 1/2 times 1. I can combine that with this other constant here, so we'll have 3 halves. Definitely do that. You always want to combine like terms because then you'll have less terms to integrate, less terms to evaluate the limits of integration on, less of a chance you're going to make a mistake. Okay, it's all about minimizing the amount of work, which means minimizing probability of error. 0 to 1/2. Okay, so we've got 3 halves now. Minus 2 cosine 4 pi x plus, be careful, 1/2 cosine 8 pi x dx. Okay, great. Now we can go ahead and integrate. I am not going to use sub just because we've got a 4 pi and an 8 pi in front of my x's. So you should be at the point now where you can recognize if you have integral of sine of a times x dx, antiderivative, if you were to take the time to use sub, the only thing that's going to happen is you're going to have 1 over a. Okay, so this would be negative 1 over a cosine ax plus c. And same thing, for cosine. So when you just have a constant, I always tell my students, don't waste time doing a u sub. It's pretty silly. You're just going to divide by it. Okay, here we go. Antiderivative of 3/2 x, minus. Antiderivative, this is negative 2 cosine 4 pi x. Okay, so we're going to keep the 2. I'm going to have to divide by 4 pi. Since it's negative cosine, it's going to stay negative. Sine, keep the argument the same. And then I have plus 1/2. But then I'm also going to have to divide by 8 pi. And then antiderivative cosine 8 pi x is going to be sine 8 pi x. And this all gets evaluated from 0 to 1/2. Let's get rid of this. I need room. 0 to 1/2. Okay. Clean it up a wee bit more before you start plugging in the limits of integration. Leave the 3/4 out here though, okay? Why would you multiply everything by 3/4? It's just making life difficult. Do it at the end once. Minus 1 over 2 pi sine 4 pi x plus 1 over 16 pi sine of 8 pi x. Okay, all of this from 0 to 1/2. So here we go. 3/4 times. Now I'm going to plug in 1/2. So we've got 3/2 times 1/2 minus 1 over 2 pi. If I'm plugging in 1/2 for x, that's going to be sine of 4 pi times 1/2, so sine of 2 pi, plus 1 over 16 pi times sine of 8 pi times 1/2 is 4 pi. That's the upper limit. Minus lower limit, we're just going to have 3/2 times 0 minus, this is going to end up being sine of 0, which you should know is 0, plus this is also sine of 0, 0. Okay. Don't always assume, though, that the lower limit, if you have a lower limit of 0, that everything's going to be zeros. They could have snuck a cosine in here, and then that wouldn't be the case. Okay. Last thing, let's see what's going on. We've got 3/4 times 3/4 minus, well, sine of 2 pi, that's also 0, right? This is 0. Sine of 4 pi, also 0. So all we're left with is 3/4 times 3/4. That was so unexpected. Well, not really. I mean, I knew that was the answer, but I mean, wow. Okay. So our final answer is 9/16. Did you like that one? I hope so. It's probably the trickiest case with the trig functions when you have just an even power of sine and cosine. It's easier when one is odd. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll link my lecture video here on evaluating trig integrals. Stay tuned though. I'll keep these integrals of the day coming if you guys like them. Subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys soon. Have a great day.